Hey friend, this is the Traveling Wellnesspreneur podcast, and I'm your host, Allie Temple. I travel full-time running my dream wellness biz from the tropics, and I want to share with you how you can create a lifestyle of freedom and purpose too. Stay tuned for inspiring and fun conversations that will empower you to take action towards your dream lifestyle of travel and freedom. Let's get into it. Welcome back, my lovely, to the Traveling Wellnesspreneur podcast. Today, I am sharing my final, for now, episode in my mini-series Living in Mexico, and I'm going to be breaking down my recent time in Puerto Vallarta. I have lots to say about that couple of months that I just spent there. So I'm going to be breaking down what I loved, what I didn't love so much, and I'll share with you why my hubby and I decided to actually even change our plans, change our flights, and leave Puerto Vallarta about a month early. So I'll spill the tea on that. And if you want to hear more about my time in Mexico, please make sure to check out the other episodes so far that I have in this series. I have shared with you about Playa del Carmen, and I have shared with you about Mexico City. I'm sure there will be more episodes in the future, but for those of you who have been kind of following along my journey, you might already know that I am now in Bali, and I've been here now for a couple of weeks, and I'm putting down some roots for the first time in a while. I'm grounding myself here in Bali. It is feeling amazing so far, and I will be sharing more on that in the podcast. Stay tuned for that. If you want to see more real-time stuff, of course, follow my stories on Instagram at Allie Temple Yoga. Now, before we get to the goods on Mexico and Puerto Vallarta, I want to remind you that the Liberate Your Life free virtual summit is coming so soon. I cannot wait to share this event with all of you. It's happening this March 22nd to 24th, and I know some of you have already saved your spot, but if you haven't, pause this episode right now, go into the show notes, click on the link and save your spot. This is going to be so fun over 3 days virtually. I'm sharing interviews with 9 global travel and wellness experts who are really going to be sharing their experience with travel, with staying well along the way. They're going to be giving you all of their top tips, what they've learned in decades of travel. And I'm also going to be going live each day with a masterclass in our private Facebook group. So that is going to be an amazing event. You still have a chance to save your spot for that. It's free. Sign up and join us. There are also some awesome prize giveaways that I'll be sharing in the Facebook group very soon. So we're all super excited for that event. Join us there. And now let's get into the skinny on Puerto Vallarta. Now, of course, this is my experience, and honestly, this experience, I've been to Puerto Vallarta so many times for different reasons. I've done a digital nomad stint there before, a couple of years ago. This experience this year in 2024 was quite different than in the past, so I'm going to be sharing why that is. But first, I'll start with the pros, what I enjoy about my time in Puerto Vallarta this time around. The weather was really nice, and for me, you know that I love the sunshine. We had great weather, and another thing that I liked about Puerto Vallarta, some of the areas, depending where you're staying, are quite walkable and very safe. I felt very safe. There are a lot of lovely local markets and a ton of fresh seafood, so I always really get my fish taco fix when I'm spending time there. There's a lot of delicious local food, and really that local food is very reasonably priced, especially if you know where to go. Another thing that I love about spending time working remotely in Puerto Vallarta is there are some amazing jumping off points to explore more of Mexico. So it's a very central area. You can take some awesome day trips to other places that are close by. If it's in season, you can also do some wonderful whale watching and hire a boat for a couple of hours or for the day. I actually had an opportunity when my family was in town, when my husband's family was in town visiting on vacation. A few of the ladies, we hired a boat and found a really reasonable price to go on a private snorkeling tour for a couple of hours, which was really one of the highlights for me of my time there. It was really nice. There are also some awesome hikes, so it can be really wonderful to get out and explore some of these hikes that take you up cliffs and with beautiful ocean views. And another thing, if you are into the whole nightlife scene, there are plenty of fun bars, fun restaurants, especially in the Zona Romantica area, if that's what you're looking for. Admittedly, my husband and I are kind of a grandma and grandpa couple, so we weren't doing a lot of that kind of stuff. But we did have a few different friends and family members that came to visit on vacation, and it was really fun doing the touristy things with them. Now, that is another point actually that I love about Puerto Vallarta. For me, being from Vancouver and also having lived in LA, it's a very easy place to get to for loved ones to come and visit you if you're staying for an extended period of time. One more thing that I enjoy about being in PV is that there are a lot of older, more traditional buildings and local businesses that have been there for decades. You know, you see the grandma on the street with the churros and the fish tacos, and you know that they've been there for years and years and years, and they're consistent. Their food is amazing, and there's that kind of old style charm there. There was less of that in places like Playa del Carmen, which I talked about in another recent episode. The buildings have more charm, they're older. They are, you know, you've got the cobblestone roads. There's just that kind of more traditional Mexican feel alongside, of course, all of the touristy stuff as well, which is really going to bring me into the cons list, which I will just jump right into. So again, just a reminder, I'm not complaining here. I'm so grateful to have spent this time in Mexico yet again, but I want to share both sides to my experience so that you can make your own informed decision if this place is on your radar for the future. Now, you probably have already heard about Puerto Vallarta and how it's been a vacation hotspot for many years. That is not new. But in my experience, this seems to have exploded to the next level over the last couple of years. Of course, it depends on if you're visiting during high season, which I was. And the reason why we were there at kind of peak high season was that our family planned a vacation there in January. We wanted to be there to spend time with our family. There were, I think, 12 of us, rented a big villa in the town. It was so much fun. But I've been trying to really plan my travel around those kind of priorities. So since we were there for the family trip, we stayed. That was also one of the reasons why I booked my Sayulita retreat again, which was a month after the family trip. If you don't know, Sayulita is just about an hour drive away from Puerto Vallarta, so it's very close by. So we had a few different commitments that it just made sense to stay in that area throughout that time period. The prices for short-term rentals like Airbnbs and things like that, in my opinion, they have really skyrocketed even since the last time I was there 2 years ago. And for what you're getting on Airbnb, you are paying a lot as a foreigner, and you often don't even get those nice Western perks like solid internet or comfortable and quiet living situations. If you want to stay somewhere in this area and you are really focused on a clean, quiet, comfortable place to get some work done, what we ended up doing, we had to actually leave one Airbnb that we had booked for a few weeks. And I think this is the first time I have ever had to do this. Not that I was forced to, but given the situation, it was really an unlivable situation. If you want to hear the details, you can send me a message in the Facebook group and I'll share more. But anyway, we got into this Airbnb in Puerto Vallarta. It was just an unlivable situation. We moved out the next day. Obviously had to find something last minute during high season. We ended up booking a little further out in Nuevo Vallarta. Now, this is also a touristy area. Nuevo Vallarta does not have so much of the local Mexican charm. It's kind of a cookie cutter, like resort style area for Westerners. But there are a lot of newer apartment buildings that are more reasonably priced. We ended up finding a lovely kind of townhouse with great internet. It was very quiet. It worked out fine, but we ended up being in this kind of secluded neighborhood, like a suburban family neighborhood, and didn't have a vehicle. So if that's something that you want to partake in, like I said, if you're really looking for somewhere quiet to get work done, I would suggest looking at that Nuevo Vallarta area. But keep in mind that I would also recommend you having a vehicle, which we did not. It was so last minute and we just didn't end up going there. Of course, renting a vehicle is going to be a whole other cost, and it's not cheap in that area to do so. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, moving along with my cons list, I gotta say it's kind of long for this area. I was saying about the accommodations, the cost of living short term, the bang for your buck scale, it's low. It's not great, especially nowadays, or at least in high season when I was there, January, February in 2024. Let's talk about the beaches for a moment because, you know, Mexico on the coast, we're thinking about beaches and beach towns. Now, the beaches in town in Puerto Vallarta are very touristy. I'll say that. Not really like the white sand, beautiful beaches that you might explore. You can find those. You can go to different areas. You can take a local bus. You can do some hiking, you can get to these stunning areas. But if you want something that is convenient to maybe where you're staying and you want to be in town with all of the action, I would say set your expectations pretty low for the beach areas. And of course, they are super touristy as well. I think that I'm just at a point a few years into this lifestyle that I have spent enough time trying to work and live in these kind of vacation destinations because of their amenities. I just was a bit tired of that whole vacation scene. I was not into it. Also, I found that food prices are inflated due to the tourism, and there are a lot of tourist traps for the local excursions and day trips and things like that. Now, a couple more things I want to note. If you are planning to work remotely from Puerto Vallarta, there is not a whole lot going on for co-working cafes or other really comfortable cafes to work from if that's your thing. We ended up just really finding that comfortable accommodation and kind of just staying put and getting the work done from there. There's also, from my experience, not really a huge wellness culture like some other places that I've traveled to. You can find places, but the general energy is just, more of a vacation vibe. So let's just do a quick recap here. Overall, big time vacay vibes in PV. I found it overpriced. I found it not so set up for work-life balance. If you are a Westerner like me and you're looking for somewhere where you want to get some work done and have that balance and enjoy life, and you're not into the vacation scene, I would say you probably want to skip it. Unless you want to go for a break and go for a vacation, then I think it's a great place to go, and I can send you recommendations on places to check out. Like I said, I had friends and family there that had a great time on vacation, but if we're talking about working remotely and finding the balance, I just didn't really find it there this time around. And like I said at the beginning, we did actually end up changing our flight and leaving PV earlier than we expected to. There were a couple of reasons behind that, but one of them just was that we couldn't find that comfortable accommodation that felt good at a reasonable price for what you're getting. And again, like I've said before, I was just at a point where I was tired of the short-term travel and wanted to get to Bali where I am now so that I could settle for a while and just get grounded. My husband felt exactly the same way. So amongst a few other reasons, that was one of the main reasons why we were planning to stay in the PV area until mid-March, and we ended up leaving directly after my retreat in Sayulita in February. I hope that helps you shed a little bit of light on what it could be like for you in PV if you are planning to work remotely there. I hope I didn't scare you off too much. And yeah, jump into the Facebook group. Let me know what you thought about this episode. If you have spent some time in PV, maybe you've had a different experience. I would love to hear from you. Let me know. Although my time in Mexico is up for now, I know I will be back. It's such an incredible country. I love spending time in. I think that next time around, if I'm working remotely again, I would love to check out more of the cities. Like the time I spent in Mexico City was awesome. I would love to go to Oaxaca City. I would love to go to Guadalajara, and those two are definitely on my list. So if you've been to those, let us know as well in the Facebook group. Now, I'm going to love you and leave you. Just one final reminder, make sure you are saving your spot for the Liberate Your Life free virtual summit coming up this March 22nd to 24th. If you are listening to this after the fact, find me in the Facebook group or on Instagram and let me know. Maybe the replays will be available, who knows? But you're not going to want to miss the live components in the summit with lots of fun giveaways and juicy extras. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, travel well. That's it for now. Thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, let's stay connected. Follow me on Instagram at Ali Temple Yoga. Join us in the Traveling Wellnesspreneurs Facebook group. And if you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. See you next time.